right, so it's 4 o'clock. We'll call the September 25th Architecture Review Board to order. Elise, if you could read us the rolls.
Robert Hemmerl.
Here.
Zach Rust.
Here.
Dave Alday.
Here.
Joe Clark.
Here. So we have a quorum. If I could please ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And any potential conflicts of interest from our board members on the items before us today? Bob. Okay. And feel free to participate in the discussion on that, and then just abstain. All right, and then looking for a motion for approval of the minutes from back on August 28th.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you. Brings us to item number 5 on our agenda. The proposed exterior remodel of 925 Michigan Avenue. Do we have that team here? If you could come to the podium and introduce yourself and give a brief explanation of what you're looking to do. Thanks.
Avenue. So I wanted to rephase not only the front of the building, but the whole building with new siding. That's how it looks right now. I want to do a navy blue on the outside, and then so that's how my plan is getting that building, everything redone, new windows, new siding, basically the stone and everything. So we can get a business down there. And our goal is to put a restaurant in that location.
So thank you. My first question is to the rest of the board and the introduction of the horizontal band across the front. Couple of things architecturally. The style of the building, it's already been changed from its original, more historic form and some of the traditional street front elements that would have been part of this sort of storefront.
Okay.
It's a shame to see them go even further away from that original vocabulary of architectural elements. So that central window is one of the pieces that it would be nice to leave in place if possible.
Okay.
I guess I had a question to you. The horizontal signboard that you're introducing, is that something that would be large enough that you could take care of proposed future signage on that?
On the wooden board?
On the wood board rather than in the middle where you're taking out the window for potential future signage?
The wooden board was just only meant to put apart the business side from the apartment upstairs, but it can be removed and just keep it on all siding and the stone.
Okay, I don't know that I have an issue with the horizontal band itself. Something separating the faux stone from the siding above.
Yes.
It's nice to have an element there. I thought maybe it could serve two purposes and then you wouldn't have to get rid of that second floor window.
Okay, I will, it was also for the business sign to be able to go hang right there eventually.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I was wondering if it could go onto that horizontal band as a sign on that instead of up where the window is. But again, that would be up to you. It's just that would be more in keeping with the original architectural style. But if you want to propose it just the way it is, that's fine too.
Okay.
It was just for consideration. Other thoughts, comments from the board?
So if this is going to be a restaurant, at some point, would there be some cooking equipment and ventilation required for it?
Yes. I'm still in the process of talking to the inspector about that. I'm the owner of Pop's Burger and Pizza House, so I'm familiar with all that restaurant stuff. And yes, we need to add the exhaust hood returns, the makeup area and all that.
Yeah, because I'm sure that they're gonna want to see a submittal on that. The Pat will, I would think.
Yeah, that actually brings up a question. There's a vent of some sort just to the right of the main window.
It
the
used to
front
be for
elevation?
yes, it used to be for the bathroom. It's gonna be switched to the side of the building.
Okay, so that's going away. Good. Other thoughts or comments? Otherwise, we could entertain a motion.
Yeah, just know that according to what the gentleman said, there's gonna be some sort of exhaust penetration, and there could even be makeup air, which would require some sort of unit mounted on grade somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Presumably, that's going to be more toward the back of the property. I'm
Okay.
assuming the front would be more of the dining area, the
Yes.
kitchen would be to the back, so any equipment would be kind of
Yes.
further out of sight.
Yes,
It would
it-
need to come back for approval and permitting,
Yes,
but architecturally, I don't see that being a major concern with the front elevation yet. Obviously, if there ends up being a great big exhaust hood coming out the front elevation, we'd
Yeah.
have to know about that.
yeah, everything's gonna be on the back of the building.
Okay.
I move to approve.
As submitted?
Yes, as submitted.
Okay. We have a motion
Second?
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, which brings us to item number 6, the proposed exterior remodel of 2516 Superior Avenue. If you could, introduce yourself and give us a brief rundown on what you're proposing.
Hi, I'm Steve Rao, and we are looking to move our gym from the current location at 1203 Superior Avenue to the new location of 2516. And I am looking to clean up the building and get the face looking a lot better, and replacing the face with steel siding, and cleaning up the back and replacing windows and doors. So we're not looking at making new doors, new holes, nothing new. It's just going to be replacing what is right there right now.
Okay. Two questions from my end. First one is why the desire to cover up the brick that's already there?
It is in bad shape, along with the block is in really bad shape, and it would look nicer with nice clean look. It's brand new, instead of falling apart and looking really old.
Okay. Generally, my perception would be that brick is a better, more durable looking aesthetic material.
Yep.
That you're sort of turning a building into more of a pole barn feel, which kind of decreases the visual aesthetic to me.
Okay.
So I guess that was the gist of the question, whether the brick is in decent shape, if it can be tuck pointed and just left as is, and improved that way rather than cover it up.
It is also added on. The original building was added onto, so the brick doesn't match up and just doesn't line up well.
Yeah. Okay. And it's an aesthetic preference thing personally. I
Yep.
like that you can see that it was an original brick building that was added onto. It's got some character to it, but that's obviously open to interpretation as to whether the brick or the metal siding is a better look. The copper trim that's running around it, how far around the building does that extend?
It's just gonna be in the front, just the front face. I was also looking at the gutters, and the gutters are in bad shape, so I was also looking at replacing the gutters that are along the sides, or one side.
And those would match the new at the front?
Yes, yep. All the paint on the side of the building is all white, and I was gonna paint that the same color as the siding, is a burnished slate.
Okay, and then it also wasn't clear which windows are being proposed for replacement.
All the windows on the east side, the old industrial windows that are single pane, they're steel, steel frames. I believe the the windows on the west side were replaced already.
Were there-
So the glass block window, replacing that, is something more energy efficient.
So the one on the front?
Yes.
And do you know what configuration that would be? Would it be the full opening? Would it have
It would-
siding?
It would be the full width, and then whatever isn't, it'll be framed in behind the steel siding. So it'll be all covered. So I'll put the windows in first, and then I'll side around the window, so the trim is right around the windows. The width of the window will probably be pretty close to the same width as the window existing, but it won't be the same height.
So that front glass block window will be similar to the ones around the side that have the siding with the newer window in the middle?
No, the ones on the one side are just a single pane, old industrial window that's not energy efficient. It's just a single pane of glass and steel frame. And then those are the ones that were replaced on the west side.
So that look on the west side that we're seeing here, that's the look that you're looking to do all the window replacements?
Those are, it'll be just a single window. It's a sliding going up, not a slider. It'll be a regular window that slides up and down. Because the width of the windows will only be 30 inches.
Okay, and do we have any photos of that east side of the building?
I don't want to, it's all covered with ivy. So you're gonna see a little bit of the windows, and then it's ivy. I actually have a picture, I should have a picture of the inside of the windows, so if you wanted to see the windows.
More concerned with the outside.
Okay.
And there again, that front large glass block window.
Yep.
Getting infilled with a combination of siding and
Yep.
window.
Well,
Again,
it'll be all siding, so there won't be a combination. The whole front of the building is siding. Because it'll be a steel siding.
oh, I see. So you're,
Yep.
okay. Again, changes the character of the
Yep.
building. And without seeing the actual elevation, it's hard to tell what that would look like. Other thoughts or concerns from the board? How are you guys feeling about this one?
Well, I like the window replacement going from single pane that's gonna frost up and then transfer through to the metal frame around it, so that's a good idea.
Yeah, from a mechanical HVAC standpoint, that's obviously improvement. I'm concerned with the aesthetics, and are we moving in the right direction, or are we actually taking a step backwards?
That's your realm.
Bob, your thoughts?
The plan is to side the entire building?
Just the front face.
Just the front.
The front face is brick, the rest of the building is block.
So you'll leave that the way it is or paint it?
I'm just gonna paint it. So it's, the whole building is the same color. It'll be color match paint from the siding.
You comfortable with that approach, Bob, or have questions still?
It's tough. I think the siding would make more sense to me if you were doing it on the sides too.
There is siding around the windows. I can replace the existing windows that were replaced on the west side, has siding, steel siding around the window because it was a bigger opening. So that has steel siding, so I could replace that steel siding that's there. And then the size of the east side of the windows are smaller than the opening, so I'll have area to put steel siding around that.
So what is the east wall? Is it brick?
Block.
Block. That's
Block.
block too.
Yep.
Same as the west.
Yep. The block is in horrible condition. There's cracks everywhere. I have a lot of repair work to do. The building's been sitting like this for decades, and with him doing no work to it at all, I want to fix it up before it's going to be a tear down. Eventually, with those cracks getting so big, it's going to be.
That's just the east side? The west side is fine?
There's cracks on all corners around a lot of the windows. Right now, it's not so bad because I can fix it, but, it sits for, more years like that.
So if you're looking at doing tuck pointing and repair to the block
Yep.
anyway, would doing tuck pointing to that front facade brick be an option?
I looked at it and it is an option, but I just feel like it's just not going to be. Then you're going to have one section of brick that's done, then you have the add-on, that's another, and then you're going to have tuck pointing in spots too. So then it's not going to look that aesthetics either because you're going to have a lot of work, repair work all over it too.
I'm still confused. The east and west sides are block,
Yep.
but you're not covering it with siding. You're,
Because the block isn't in bad shape, it's just some cracks I can tuck point and paint and it's going to look fine.
okay.
So, then you're looking at the same thing, tuck point the brick and paint the brick. I could do that too, but, I feel it'd be a nice, fresh, cleaner look with it replaced. Give the business a little bit clean, fresh look.
You'll just be putting siding in the bigger window opening, bigger
Well,
than the new window.
the window will be in and the siding will go to the window, so it won't be extra, because the whole front face will be steel siding.
This is a tough one. We'd definitely like to see you do work and appreciate that the building's getting attention finally.
Yep,
Painting brick is never a great option,
I know.
but is it better than covering it with a more industrial metal siding? That's a tough call for me.
Well, it does look, with the brick, it does look industrial the way it is.
Somewhat unrelated question, the garage doors on the front elevation? Those are big blank doors. Are those getting used for anything?
Yep.
You
Yeah, I
come
will,
in and
yes,
out
yeah.
through
Yeah,
those?
they'll stay in place, so get new garage doors.
Yeah, this one is, I'm having a hard time with this one. I want to see it improved from what's there now. Other thoughts, suggestions, comments? Otherwise, we move forward with a motion of some sorts?
How did you do the image that we have today
On the Menards website.
on our website?
Yep.
So I'm just curious what it's gonna look like on the sides. You're gonna paint it
look exactly, it'll be the exact same color, but it's not gonna have all the ribs and it's just gonna be smooth because it's black.
Will
So-
be the color of the metal siding?
The exact same color as the siding.
So the whole building goes to the brown for
Yep, yep.
everything?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then I like that copper accent, so I'm gonna try to get as much as I can. If we can replace the gutters and put new gutters on that are the same copper trim is my goal.
And what's your timeline on this? How soon are you looking to start?
And in spring, because I wouldn't be able to get to it before winter.
Was your question directed at possibly coming back to be able to see the other elevations?
Well, I just didn't understand. It makes sense to tie it together color-wise. Yeah.
But it does end up being a lot of brown.
What's that?
It ends up being a lot of brown for everything all the same color.
Right now, it's all white on the sides.
So the windows will stay white?
Yeah, I won't be replacing those are gonna stay white. Somewhere in the future, when those windows are starting to get bad, yeah, those will definitely be replaced.
All right, well, to keep things moving, I would entertain a motion.
Looking at the wrong guy.
Is there a way you could do the sides too?
Sure.
And then show the white trim windows and how that's gonna tie to the front?
Yep.
And if you're doing that, to also update the front elevation to show the actual window infill of that glass block.
So we're replacing that front window?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
you were saying you were planning to do that and extend the siding then
Yeah.
to the window?
It doesn't give me an option in there to change windows and put different windows in that program. It makes it a little bit harder because it has steel siding on the side, so the program wants to kind of separate it, so it'll let me change some of the siding and not all of it. It's just, you think it'd be so easy, but it's not. I'm trying, I
We're
played
familiar with software. Plenty of issues. But it sounds as if the direction is to request to come back to a
I
future
just feel
meeting.
better about it if we could see it in full
Yeah.
and just see how if you're keeping white windows, maybe you wanna have some white in the front too, or
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Just so that the building is balanced look.
Yeah, it ties together.
But it is a good question. The front is showing all the copper trim. You know, is that carried around? If it's white on the side, is that front window then white? Does that tie
Well,
in?
no, that will be, what color, it's a bronze, all the side windows and that front window are all gonna be, it's like a bronze, it's the same dark as a brown. So it'd be very similar to it.
I would agree that seeing something that's a closer representation of what's proposed would help us sort of
No problem.
get off the fence and make a decision.
Okay.
So if one would motion to that effect,
I'll make a motion that we table it till we see a closer rendition of what the exterior is supposed to look like.
Thanks, Dave.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
Motion is approved. Thank you very much. Appreciate
you.
it. If
you.
discussions with the city in the time being on any of the questions you may have, feel free to interact moving
No problem.
forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right, item number 7 is the proposed exterior remodel of 3424 Cola Memorial Drive.
Hi, Tim Yokes with Logic Design and Architecture, project manager for the alteration. Proposing to make some alterations to the existing tenant. Office Max is going to be removed, and we're going to demise the space into 2 tenant spaces, since a lot of the retailers nowadays are downsizing quite a bit. Proposed alterations include the removal of the building, the metal building on the east side. That'll allow us to add a new entrance for a proposed TBD tenant that'll enter off the east side. And then the facade modifications to the existing Office Max area to bring in some of the Michael's architectural elements. And then along with that, some additional modifications to the existing parking lot. Right now, I know that that parking lot was changed or altered at one point to have more of a one-way direction, but proposing to add that tenant entrance there, we needed to reconfigure the parking lot to 2-way traffic, and then we will get some additional parking in front of the tenant entrance.
All right, I've been monopolizing things. You guys want to weigh in first here?
I like the look of the new tenant side. Looks clean.
It's nice to see that metal building on the side come down, tidy everything up. Some questions that I had, and obviously it's great to see it getting cleaned up and move forward. The signs that are on the corner out to, is that Taylor Drive? The Office Max signs, presumably those are going away, not getting
Correct.
replaced.
Correct.
So the only things that stuck out to me were the new tenant entrance on that east side.
So the Office Max signs, are you talking about on the, the
Yes.
east side of the building?
Let's see, which way is north? So the northeast corner facing Wilgus.
Yeah, that might be reserved for the new tenant, the to-be-determined tenant.
Okay, that would make sense.
Michael's will not be taking that space for their sign, though. That's been agreed upon. That will be reserved for whoever the new tenant might be on the back spot.
Okay. That entrance on the long elevation, that east elevation, just questioned whether it was big enough, if there's any opportunity to make it a little bit bigger. And then the other things tie into the Harbor Freight addition that was done on the remodeling there. That at the time that happened, the detailing of that Harbor Freight addition with the black diamonds and the materials was, if the goal for anything else that happened with further development, the hope was that Big Lots and Dunham's on the corner would start to move that direction as well. So with the Michael's Corner going in and the new tenant, I appreciate you're picking up the vocabulary for the new tenant piece, but I wonder if it could go further towards incorporating any of that additional detailing?
I can speak to that
Go ahead,
regarding Big Lots Dunham's. So Big Lots just exercised another, oh, I'm sorry.
Speak up there.
Big Lots just exercised another 5-year, their final 5-year renewal, but they're not interested in doing any additional upgrades to the exterior.
Okay.
Dunham's does not want to be in the spot that they want to be in. They would like to be in the Big Lots spot. So they've signed a 3-year extension with the hope of moving into the Big Lots. So we're the ideal situation is if we remove Big Lots, move Dunham's into that, Dunham's is prepared to significantly upgrade, and that would allow us to then work on their space. But we've offered Dunham's money to upgrade their space. They just,
Understandable.
they won't. So the rest of the facade is basically staying the same on that the one side. We're preserving the brick. We're removing that steel shed. So it is a substantial upgrade until we could figure out the Big Lots Dunham's conundrum. It's really difficult to get any progress on that.
I see that you've got the split face, you've got the sconces, similar to what's down at Harbor Freight. Any of the diamond motif getting worked in there, is that possible?
There's no masonry work really being done at this point.
I think that was in the
That's the
ephes.
split face block, that's below on the pilasters. He's talking about the diamonds that are in the ephes.
All right.
You know,
Yeah.
corner pieces, we didn't include any of that.
We could do that, right?
There's really not much, I would say, there's really, I mean, anything's possible, but we're not trying to take all of those elements that were done on a much larger scale. Here we have a much smaller tenant that's almost tertiary to really your primary tenant. So we're always challenged with heights. Everybody wants to be higher than everybody else. The scale of that also, we brought that down because we have the potential, in the future to possibly demise that space even further. So if we start to grow that entrance piece, then that limits us to what we could do down the road. So right now, we're looking at demising this space off about 6,000 square feet. But honestly, that space could be demised even further and allow us to provide or add some additional architectural elements. So if we start scaling that one up, then it's hard to break that down. Okay. The other item that we are still exploring is we're working with a potential tenant for that space, and what you don't see on this elevation is there's a single man door towards the north. They're also looking at possibly there's an existing opening that comes through. Right now, there's like two egress doors on that metal building, so right beyond those, there's penetrations, right? So the one we're gonna infill further to the south, but to the north, we're exploring possibly just infilling that with glass so that we have another, some additional glass into the building. And again, potentially adding or preserving that as another entrance element if we ever demise the space further. So that would just be, that area would be between the proposed entry piece and that single man door. So opening it up a little bit more, trying not to infill it. We feel like we can get a pretty good match. There's been some infills on this building before with the brick, but again, trying to minimize that a little bit. So we have to punch in a new egress door, hollow metal door towards the south for the Michaels egress path, and then trying to add another probably just aluminum storefront in that existing opening.
Yes, the reason for my questions were having been on the board back when Harbor Freight went in and the efforts that project made to establish an identity, a new sort of vocabulary with their major sign replacement and incorporating those elements. So seeing how much of that we can get incorporated into this while you've also got the Big Lots and Michaels much whiter, the black canopy versus the white.
Yeah.
Does the trim up at the top reflect the Big Lots with the darker at the top with the white underneath? Just at what point are we better off trying to get more matching down from Harbor Freight to this end that then hopefully the middle catches up some point down the road? Or until then, is it better to have this end be the lighter, whiter Michaels Big Lots end? In which case it'll never catch up.
Well, part of what we always are dealing with on these national brands is their national look, right? So you have the white, the off-white colors that they're looking for to, picture frame their sign, which is red. We've talked about changing the colors. Right now we have that existing metal canopy, which is a roof with downspouts, so it's a structure that we'd really have to get into. They did do some improvements at one point where they covered up the bottom of the canopy over the Michaels area, so that's got some recessed cans in there that are covered up. We've talked about possibly changing the look of that. I think paint is what it is right now, so anything can be done with paint colors, and we've talked about that.
We've talked about a variety of paint colors for that entire canopy. What,
The challenge is try to incorporate,
out of curiosity, which one would you prefer if you were to repaint the canopy?
That's a tough one. In the city notes, the black canopy on the new tenant entrance is standing out. You've got miles of white canopy, and then the little black canopy over at Harbor Freight again.
but they're on different elevations, different views, so.
But I think the goal was to get as much cohesive tie-in through the whole complex as
For
possible.
some reason, we were having this
You gotta
conversation.
talk in here.
Yeah, we were having this conversation, and for some reason, I thought we were gonna do this all in like gray or black or charcoal. So that must have came from when we did the Harbor Freight, that idea.
I think the goal had been Harbor Freight was going to set kind of the language
we'll
for
go ahead.
as much as we could do
We'll
moving
go ahead and
forward.
take care of that. We'll do the canopy in gray. I don't think that Big
Okay.
Lots or Dunham's will have an issue with that. You think Michael's will?
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna,
We have to submit our plans to Michael's within another 30, by the end of October. So
Okay.
if we could get initial conditional approval by you guys, we'll submit to Michael, see if they're okay if we paint the canopy a gray or dark. Would that work for you?
Something that would relate to the Harbor Freight, and then it ties in again to your new tenant
But
entrance.
if Michael's
Great.
objects to it,
Yeah,
you'll
we
be fine?
Certainly understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be my take on it. Open to other thoughts or suggestions
with that.
from the board.
Yeah.
So that would need to be worked into the motion, that we would be recommending the canopy to be a darker color to tie into the Harbor Freight vocabulary.
After we submit it to Michael's, we'll put that in as the recommendation by the city. And if
Super.
Michael says okay to it, then we'll proceed.
And then that would just need to come back to the city for staff review at that level for whichever way it ends up going.
That's fine. Is that good with you?
yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, perfect.
Great, thank you. Someone want to attempt a motion to that effect?
Can't just do so moved.
So I think the motion we're looking at is to approve as submitted with the exception of the main canopy for Michaels and Big Lots being a darker color, recommended to be a darker color similar to Harbor Freight, pending approval from Michaels Corporate,
And then approved by staff.
and then come back for staff
Yep.
approval at that level.
That works.
So let's count that as our motion. Do we have a second?
You just said so moved.
So we have a second. Any further discussion? We're all clear on what we're voting on.
We're clear.
Okay, then all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your flexibility. And item number 8 is the proposed construction of a new addition at the Pig Stop at 2917 North 15th Street. So if you could make introductions again and give us a brief explanation.
Yeah, hi, I'm Justin Marcus. I'm an architect working on the project. I work for Abacus Architects. So we are looking to put an addition onto the existing gas station, the Pig Stop on 15th, putting in a new restaurant addition to the side of it. We're pretty much just extending the addition to the north to give them a little bit more space to put the restaurant addition in, but we are matching pretty much the entire existing facade all the way around, keeping the same banding. So the base is a stone, Renaissance stone base, precast concrete banding, a terracotta. It's listed as split face CMU, but it's more like a fluted type texture to it. And then ephes above, and we'll match everything exactly as it is existing. Match the ephes colors, match the terracotta. We're already working with the previous manufacturer of the stone product, so we're getting all the same stuff, so.
All right, so my biggest question was the existing dumpster enclosures to the north.
Correct.
Presumably those are still needed and you probably need more dumpsters now?
So I think we're good with the amount of dumpster that they have currently. We are obviously getting rid of that as we're extending it to the north. The plan is to actually move that away from the building and actually down to the south on this site plan. You can see, we didn't highlight it on this plan since this was the survey, but it would be moving down and actually taking over a couple of the parking stalls to the direct south.
And materials for that, is that part of this submittal, or will that be coming back for an additional approval?
We were just going to do a wood fence around the enclosure. We can definitely bring that back if you'd like.
Yeah, with this sort of project, we've typically asked for that dumpster enclosure to be more in keeping with the materials of the building. I guess seeing exactly where on the site that's going to see how visible it's going to be, what kind of landscaping you might have around it to screen it.
Sure.
And then how that impacts the materials would certainly factor in for how comfortable I would be with it not matching the building. So since we don't have that, if I could request that comes back for another submittal.
Sure.
And then we'll just ignore it for now. Let's see. Mechanicals, anything going in on the facades or roof that we're going to be seeing?
So there would be in the northeast corner would be where the kitchen location would be. So there would be mechanicals on the roof. It is a parapet roof, so it would be screened. And that really would be the only.
Fully screened, or is it going to be partially screened?
It would be partially screened, yeah. With the roof is pitching to the north down, so that would be the deepest part of the parapet, but it still would only be partially screened. We can definitely provide some mechanical screening above if you'd like to cover the rest of that, but.
That would certainly be consistent with what we've typically asked for, either that or views showing sight lines to see how visible the equipment is.
Sure.
Just so we make sure, I mean, you've got miles of parking lot around this, so you're going to be seeing it from a long way away.
Sure.
So the cutoff from the parapet's not going to hide as much as it might in a smaller site.
Sure. I think he's still trying to select some of the kitchen equipment, so I think we haven't really assessed what exactly we'd need for the mechanical unit up there, which is why, don't know the sizing yet. Sure.
Yeah.
But we can definitely bring that back and maybe include that with the dumpster enclosure discussion as well.
And then you mentioned you're matching the existing materials, which is great. As I was looking at least the Google Maps images of the existing building, the ephes kickout at the bottom of the upper portion, from the photographs, I was thinking it was a different material, like another awning, but it's just dirty.
Yeah. Yes.
So in terms of matching the existing materials, is that the best solution there? Is that something that's going to be able to be kept clean? Is the old building getting cleaned so that the new will match? Or is it going to be a stark contrast between the brand new and the old kind of grungy?
Yeah, I can bring that up to the client. I mean, the whole cleaning the existing just to make it less stark. There wasn't any work planned on being done to the existing, but we can definitely look at that.
It would be great if they could clean it up so at least gets them to be starting at the same point again before they start to get a patina.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, anything you're wanting changed on this one?
No, I was gonna mention that we did step the addition.
Yeah.
A little bit, I don't know the exact number.
It was 5 inches.
4
Yeah.
inch, yeah,
Yep, so,
just in case things don't match exactly.
no,
Got
that
a
was,
little break.
saw that and appreciated. Note to everyone else, that's a good thing to do. Otherwise, it sounds like things are pretty well received. So the items I had noted were that a dumpster enclosure will be coming back for a separate review and submittal. We are assuming or requiring HVAC screening for mechanical equipment on the roof.
Yeah, I think depending on the verification of the sightlines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that could probably just come back for staff review.
Yep.
If it's egregious, then staff would kick it back to architecture review.
Sure.
Hopefully that can be approved at that level. And then a request from us, if you could forward that to the owner for cleaning prior to construction of the new, just so they blend in.
Sure.
Otherwise, make the motion to approve as submitted with those recommendations.
Motion to approve with conditions that were stated.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and Bob will be abstaining. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is approved. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, then our next meeting is scheduled for October 9th. Do we know if we have anything on the agenda for that yet? Okay. So please respond, so when Renee sends out the request, we know that we've got a quorum. We only just made it today.
Yeah, I
Thank you
walked
all
in, I
for
was
being
kind of
here.
wondering. I asked Zach, he said, no, we're good.
And with that, I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.